Hey, Frugal friends. My name's Jen.
My name's Jill.
And social media promises connection, but more and more we are realizing that it's just making us feel lonelier.
We've definitely felt this. We can scroll on our phones for sometimes hours just looking for some of the funny videos or things that make us feel like we are finding belonging or connection. But at the end of it, we put our phones down and we kind of feel devoid of that connection. It's like all of a sudden we look up and we realize, oh, they weren't real people here sitting with me.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Not just the importance of human connection, but how that lack of human connection is affecting us financially. And at the end, we're going to talk about what this looks like for the future and some of the things that we learned firsthand about AI when we were in New York City recently. This episode is brought to you by parasocial relationships, the people we feel we know because we watch their social media and YouTube videos. The people we know intimate details about because they've selectively let us know those details. The people we feel entitled to because they share the highlight reel of their lives with us and they have no clue who we are. These parasocial relationships don't just superficially meet a deep need we all have, but they can be manipulated. Influencers can curate this emotional response to gain trust that they haven't earned, so they can more easily sell us stuff. And that's why it is so important to have a spending plan, some kind of accountability. It is not a rule, but it is a guide. And if you don't want to pay monthly for an app or do it on paper, then we have created a budget spreadsheet that is really robust. Tabs for every month, all 12, an annual overview, an opportunity cost calculator, cost per wear calculator, as much as we could pack into this without overwhelming you. And we've made it mobile optimized. So if you are looking for a budget spreadsheet solution, it may be for you, it may not, but you can check it out at frugalfriendspodcast.com/budget. And if you're over on YouTube, check the description for a link for 30% off.
So the question is, how significant of a problem is this? Should we be worried? How lonely are we all
Yeah, it's
feeling?
called a loneliness epidemic, a friendship recession. And these are really great buzzwords for the media, but how
Mhm.
how much of this is reality?
So according to Oxford Academic TikTok's hashtag lonely has amassed 13.7 billion views. So it is resonating.
And some of these are positive, some of them are negative, most of them are negative. According to the same study on Oxford Academic, loneliness has severe health consequences. So we already know that being in an algorithm, whether on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, it can kind of put you in this echo chamber. So when you interact with content, the platform recognize that it's going to show you more of that. And so this can amplify these health consequences. So higher risks of depression, poor sleep, reduced life satisfaction. And this study, when looking at the hashtag lonely, it found, and this is a quote from the study, no videos were made by healthcare professionals or healthcare organizations offering health information or support. So it's not to say that there's no one on there trying to help or support, but we can't be sure of the credentials of the people trying to.
Mhm.
And there are so many studies on this.
Yeah, one study highlights how youth who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media report fewer meaningful interpersonal interactions. And another study found links between heavy social media use and low self esteem, especially among adolescents. And this has led to a weird phenomenon.
Yeah, nobody is, I think everybody can say with confidence what we are saying is happening. Like nobody's going to disagree.
Yeah.
I think what's really weird is the division now that we are seeing with what it's resulting in.
And on the one hand, we have this perspective.
I can confidently say that I have no friends, and I understand that we're in a loneliness epidemic, but when y'all are saying you don't have friends, it doesn't seem the same as when I'm saying I don't have friends, because from what I'm seeing, it's people have friends, like human beings that you communicate with daily and you hang out with, and you just haven't found your good friend group. Like, you haven't found your best friends, which is fine. That's what our 20s are for. And some people will say that they have work friends, they don't have real friends. I don't have work friends because I work from home and everyone else doesn't live in California. And I don't have anybody. Like, I'm confidently saying I don't have anybody. Like, I don't have anybody that I could send a meme to. I don't have anybody that I could go to lunch with. I haven't been out to lunch with someone that's not, like, my mom in over a year, it feels like. And it's just, what am I supposed to do? Everybody just says, oh, making friends as an adult is hard, and then they move on. And it's like, okay, I understand that. We've acknowledged that. Making friends as an adult is hard. Where do I go from here? Like, okay, what is the next step? And I know that I have to put myself out there, and I do, and I don't drink, so I find, like, all these youth events in my city, and I go to, I don't know, like, trivia nights, and I go to bingo, and I go to anything where it's like, it's an opportunity for me to meet people and talk to people. And it seems like everybody already has their own friends, or even if you, like, exchange Instagrams, they're not interested in pursuing anything further, which I understand, because I also like being in my room and being on TikTok, and I understand that's probably what we're all doing. But at some point, like, we have to do something. Like, we have to move forward, and I don't know how to do that, and I feel really alone.
So we've got that.
It's so heartbreaking.
But
Like, watching this video is just, like, so
Yeah.
heartbreaking. And you know that a lot of people are feeling this, like, can watch this. And it's not just sad because she is expressing just vulnerable emotion, but you know what that feeling is like too. And it's, yeah.
And
This
it's
is
not
kind of like, this is a
right. It's
heavy episode.
It's not for not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
Like, people are just like, put yourself out there more. And, like, people are putting themselves
She's
out
doing
there,
a lot
right?
to try and find this community. Yeah.
So we've got, like, this perspective on one hand. And then we've got this perspective on another.
There are people that can spend an entire day alone in the room with just their phone. It's me. I'm those people.
I've never really understood people that don't like being alone, because I'm currently in the Home Goods parking lot eating a breakfast sandwich. I can take as long as I want in there, and then I'm gonna go to TJ Maxx, and if I feel like it, I might stop into Marshall's, and I don't have any stress about, oh, do we need to go get lunch, or oh, do we have to go do this? It's a perfect day.
Another day of doing everything by myself because I'm single and I have no friends. But at least I don't have fake people in my life, and I'm not getting cheated on, so we're winning.
So we have this, like, glorification of being alone. And then you've got a lot of content in the middle, right? Of people who feel lonely and are trying to, like, be okay with themselves so that they don't attract toxic people or toxic relationships. And so there's, like, a lot of navigation of that. And then you've got the content that's like, I'm alone and I love it, and you should love it too. And here's how to love being alone. And, like, it's so hard to find the radical middle.
Yeah. I mean, I can resonate with enjoying those days by myself, but a lot of that comes from this place of, because I'm also surrounded by people a lot. And I think that's the challenge here. And what we want to encourage people towards is holding the tension between being confident in who you are and being able to spend time by yourself and doing things that make you happy while not alienating yourself either. And so that's that radical middle that we're talking about.
And I think so the dangerous place we get is when we use social media not just as a replacement for face-to-face interaction, but really, like, one-on-one communication in general, because it's easier to scroll than to text a friend. Like, our anxiety about relationships is at an all-time high because we don't want to be annoying or we don't want to like get rejected if we're trying to like hang out with someone. And like, I know these feelings. Like, I am constantly actively trying to form relationships and also being anxious about like, does this person want to form a relationship with me? Like, am I weird? Like, am I cool? Like, I don't know. So it is such a weird place to be. And so how does it affect our finances?
That's what we're
Because
here
we could,
for.
I know, because we could go into just like over analyzing this, but we're a personal finance podcast.
Yeah, we do need to understand how it impacts our money. So we are saying that relationships are a basic need, and the most successful businesses are not selling us things; they are selling us needs. And the more deficient we are in these needs, the more vulnerable we are, and easier it is for them to sell to us when they're able to connect those things to some of these basic needs. That it's not just about buying this product, it's about you finding belonging.
Yeah. So we talk in our book, Buy What You Love Without Going Broke. We talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we'll show it on the screen. But it is a triangle that at the bottom has your basic needs, and it is the food, the water, the shelter, the safety, all of that. And then right above that, you have our more internal needs. And at the first thing that we need as humans outside of our basic needs is relationships. And so that is why we feel so strongly. I think even our basic needs don't even have to be fully met for us to want relationships, which is why safety and relationships can get so convoluted, and we can often put ourselves in unsafe places because of our desire for relationships. And so this is basically why we become so susceptible to influence on social media. When we replace human interaction and relationships with these parasocial relationships online, it does something to our brain. And so we're going to go through a couple of the psychological things it does to our brain to kind of break down what's going on and why, like, if you can't figure out why you're overspending on social media, that this could potentially help like break that down.
Yeah, so it can intersect with short-term thinking or lead to more short-term thinking. There's this study that was done in 2025 that shows a positive correlation between social media induced isolation and anxiety among students. So anxiety is uncomfortable. Most of us do experience it, of course, to varying degrees, and it can inhibit us to varying levels. So oftentimes we'll search for different coping mechanisms in order to reduce some of that anxiety, even if it's not going to be the best long-term solution. Like, for instance, after having a stressful day, you may choose to order $40 worth of takeout instead of cooking what you already have at home. And so that purchase can reduce some of that anxiety. It kind of allows us that quick short-term win, but it's going to prolong some of the anxiety and certainly some of our financial goals, because now we've just not eaten the food that we have at home. Maybe we feel like we've wasted that $40. And so this is kind of what comes after being isolated, is this type of short-term thinking that can happen in these financial decisions.
Yeah. And more of what we see on social media is designed to produce anxiety. Emotions, bar none, get us to watch and comment more. So creators are, and especially brands, are looking to elicit emotion. And the easiest emotions to elicit are anger and fear. And so if it's not anger, it's fear. And I think that's where a lot of the anxiety comes, is that we're consuming this rage bait content, this fear inducing content, and that exacerbates our anxiety. And that's when our decision-making skills plummet, when we are using the anxious, short-term thinking part of our brain over the rational decision, like long-term decision-making part. So uh, adding to that, impaired cognitive resources. So a 2025 study found that cognitive decline and sleep disturbances are linked with social isolation in older adults. So the more we are on social media, or even if it's not social media induced, just the more that we isolate ourselves from real relationships, the more we experience cognitive decline and sleep disturbances. And this can also play into anxiety. So maybe you're experiencing like overwhelm from like your messy home. So instead of starting small and researching cleaning or making a doable schedule, then you're on social media and you see some influencers poorly disclosed ad for a vacuum cleaner, and you click buy now because you're overwhelmed, by the mess, and you're not like thinking clearly. That's that cognitive like decline. It's not even like long term. I wouldn't say that it's long term, but just like short term cognitive decline. And we call this procrastinating spending. When you have a problem, and instead of doing something to actually solve the problem, you spend money on something that could solve the problem, and the problem does not get solved. And so this is because of impaired cognitive resources, but we all have an experience where we have procrastinated spend. So another example is like at the store, instead of evaluating whether you actually need more clothes, if you are somebody who's insecure about their appearance, being isolated in maybe like Fit Talk or the wellness, play algorithm on social media, and feeling like really insecure, maybe with a habit of buying clothes instead of, stepping back and thinking like, who do my friends say who I am? Who do other people say who I am? I only listen to like my intrusive negative thoughts and then buy more clothes to solve the problem of my insecurity. So that's another, because familiarity feels less mentally taxing when we have that mental like cognitive decline. But then it perpetuates overspending on autopilot.
And the third way that this can impact us is parasocial relationships. Not that this is entirely bad. However,
What this episode is brought to you by your parasocial relationship with us.
Yes, we are the frugal friends, and you are also our friends. But parasocial bonds can feel like real friendship, where people can kind of treat product endorsements from influencers like advice from a trusted friend. And that trust can lower skepticism. It can make us buy more things. And I think it is good to kind of know some of these voices. Like we do hope that we are able to build trust with people, and we're only going to be putting brands in front of you all that we truly do recommend. But the thing is that there's not total reciprocity here. Like, you all know more about us than we know about you. And same with the parasocial relationships that Jen and I have. Like, there are people that I follow on Instagram that I feel very connected with, that feel like this is my sense of humor right now because I'm watching them in the comfort of my home, and I'm seeing them in their home, and it all feels so comfy, cozy. But it then can lead me or you to potentially buying a $50 hoodie from that person just because they said to. And I'm like, yeah, I'm friends with you.
Yeah, that's conservative. I was watching this brand called Park, which is this girl's last name, who has no business being in fashion. And she was selling hoodies for like, not even hoodies, these sweaters that had weird necklines. It wasn't turtleneck, but it also wasn't crew neck. It looked like stretched out crew neck. And they were like $150.
Yeah.
And they were selling out.
Yeah.
Like, that is what happened. I mean, and that was more like a viral, like, fashion trend.
Yeah.
But this girl is a influencer. And
Mhm.
so this is what, and we make like our budget spreadsheet and our annual finance planner and our meal planner. Like, we make those because we think they're valuable tools, but we don't want you to buy them like just to support us. We want you to buy them only if you think that they would be a true resource to you.
For you.
Right. So like, and we're totally fine with you not buying them if you don't need them.
Yeah. But the more that we isolate ourselves, the more that we're only in our phones, the more that we're just relying on people that we don't actually know. They certainly don't know us, but we feel more and more familiar with them. And so more and more likely to give them our money, which is another way that just impacts our wallets
Yeah.
in non-beneficial ways.
And it is not going to get better.
Ew.
So we have focused on social media for the majority of this episode because it is our biggest, I think, issue right now in the friendship recession, isolation epidemic. But like anything, it will progress into the new next technology. And right now, that's AI. So we were just in New York last week at a conference with the CEO of Microsoft AI. And he said in 12 to 18 months that AI will essentially be a personality that you could have a relationship with, who will have its own quirks, its own style. And this isolation trend is about to get 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, this CEO of Microsoft, here's some direct quotes from this conference that we were just at. They said, "We're really trying to land this idea that everybody is going to have their own personalized AI companion. It will, over time, have its own name, its own style. It will adapt to you. It may also have its own visual appearance and expressions." They were specifically talking about how AI is not a tool because tools you just utilize for your own end. Like, right, a hammer is something that you utilize to hammer in a nail. They were describing AI as being more of a relationship, a companion, something that is evolving a little bit more. And they were talking about this like this is a really great thing. It's going to be a really helpful resource for us, and especially for those of us who feel lonely and isolated, that people are going to have real friends that get to know you over time, that learn from you, that are in your corner as a support.
That's another direct quote. Another one is, he said, "We are personality engineers, engineering tokens that create feelings, that create lasting, meaningful relationships." And so we don't say this to like, it sounds like an apocalyptic movie, right? Like,
Mhm.
that's not why we're saying this. We appreciate AI. We appreciate what it's doing for small business owners like us. But we have seen this time and time again. We are no longer ignorant to it. Facebook started free. Everybody came on. Instagram, free to get everyone there. TikTok, free. Everyone gets there. Why? Why is it free? Why is this thing free?
Not just because they love us.
Right. No, to get as many people on the platform so that it can become a marketing platform. LLMs, language learning models, are free. Why are they free? And why are all of the top tech companies in the S&P 500 like banking on AI? Because eventually it will become a platform to advertise to you. And even more so, and dangerously so, if it becomes a trusted companion, that it becomes hard to separate marketing from friend. That is extremely dangerous and will exacerbate this problem of like isolation culture marketing. Like, the more we can be drawn out and separated, honestly, and this is what I think just in general, we are more powerful together in general, and everybody in power's goal is to separate us, to make us become less powerful. And in marketing, that means we are easier to sell to. And so that's what's happening.
And I don't think that we need to be fearful of this. I think all of it is awareness that we can know what's going on and not necessarily just get swept up in the current that's going to take our money. I mean, just like we've seen with social media, eventually the information that your AI friend is serving you will be paid for. It'll be paid for somehow. And the more that we rely on AI, the more that we're going to struggle to find the line between reality and marketing. And it will become less and less expensive for companies to be able to sell to us, because where there is trust, there is increased spending. And so if we have these AI companions that are reducing our feelings of loneliness, that we feel like are a support, who truly understand us, how easy is it going to be for that AI companion to sell to us? How much harder is it going to be for us to tease apart what do I actually want versus what's being sold to me? And so I think the answer, like, there is an answer here, and it's not necessarily to get rid of all of this. I think that there's a reality to, we've got to live in the world in which we're living, but with eyes wide open and an awareness of how is this going to impact me and what are the protections and the boundaries that I'm going to be putting up. And we think that's relationships with real, true people in the frickin' flesh. So you're not watching me, I'm slapping Jen. I'm sure you can hear
It's
it.
in a loving way. So yeah, now that we've doomed and gloomed you,
hopefully not, just friends. We do need them.
let's bring it back around. And again, we are not anti-social media. We're not anti-AI. I honestly think AI as a personal shopping companion would be a really compelling product. It's just we need to be able to draw a line between the marketing and the relationships. And I think this is, again, by creating relationships outside of marketing. And so what is the direct correlation, right? When we are in relationship with people, we are not consuming as much marketing, because like Jill's face isn't like serving me an ad every 30 seconds, right? So not only does it limit our exposure to advertising, but we can get real life perspective on how other people see us. If I'm insecure about myself and I want to buy stuff to solve the problem, yet I am surrounded by people telling me, like, you think you look this way and you don't. I can't hear that just once and believe it. I need to hear it again and again and again. And like, sure, yes, we risk finding toxic relationships that do the opposite. But I think that's where practice comes in. And people are doing it. There are ways to find friends. But it does take work.
Okay, so you know how I said that I need to make new friends in New York because I don't have a lot of them here? I am currently on my way to a meetup to make some new friends. We're gonna go get tea, just me and a few girls, in the East Village. It was organized through a Facebook group that we're all in, and then some girl who worked at a tea shop like put together a group chat saying like she wanted to put together more frequent meetups at tea shops instead of having to drink alcohol, which I co-sign on. So that's what we're gonna do. I yesterday was just like, hey, does anyone want to meet up today, Saturday, and see if anyone wanted to meet up. I was like, I just moved here. I don't know a lot of people, would love to make new girlfriends. So there are gonna be a few girls that are showing up also. So we'll see. And I'm very excited.
Oh, a video? Oh, yeah, that's good. Is there a video that's close by here? Because I'm sure they would just let us in.
So I just got back and it was a success. There were like 8 of us girls, and it was a good like age group. Like it was, the youngest was I think 23, 24, and the oldest was like 32. A lot of us had so much to talk about, and like everyone was so sweet and friendly. So I'm very happy that it was a success. We ended up hanging out at the tea shop for quite a bit, and then
we went over to Washington Square Park because Van Leeuwen was giving away free pints. So I got myself a pint of carrot cake flavored ice cream, and I'm excited to try this. But I just feel so energized, and I'm so happy that I took the initiative and asked if anybody wanted to go hang out today. So if this is your sign to just like take the initiative and make friends that way, like please do, by all means.
You can hear it in her voice going from about to go hang out. She's
I love the
walking.
progression.
She is walking, so you hear she's a little bit out of breath, but you can hear some of the anxious, jittery excitement. And then afterwards, almost that exhale of how great was that? And here's what we did. And this was so lovely. And you hear what it did for her on such a deep level.
Yeah. And this is not just reserved for people in their 20s.
If you're seeing this video, I want you to take this as a sign to go out and make new friends in midlife. Here's a story. A couple weeks ago, I went to support a friend of mine who was doing a get-together at a basketball game for some of her clients. I wind up sitting next to this woman I've never met before, and we start talking. And there was an immediate energy shift. I felt it. It was palpable. It's like, boom. This has happened to me a bunch in my life, and every single time I have turned to that woman, typically it's me who turns to them and says, hey, I feel like there's a connection here. I think we're supposed to be friends. And for one of the first times in my life, she did it for me. She was like, I feel like you and I are supposed to be friends. And I was like, girl, me too. So we made a date for 2 weeks later to meet and have coffee, our first friendship date. It was fantastic. We sat for 3 hours and talked about all kinds of things, relationships, work, goals, etc. Like, boom, we were off to the races. We went deep, fast. And here's the other thing. I'm 53 and she's 37. Age has nothing to do with connection. It has nothing to do with who you're going to vibe with, who you're going to feel something for in relationships, romantic or otherwise. If one of us hadn't been brave enough to put ourselves out there and say, hey, I think we're supposed to be friends, I feel a connection here, this incredible coffee date I just had would never have happened. So take this as a sign. Put yourself out there. Introduce yourself to people. If you feel a connection with someone, invite them to a coffee. Because who knows, maybe you just meet your new best friend.
There is a reality to being a little uncomfortable. Yeah, you've got to be willing to be a little awkward, to take the risk, to be the one initiating, to take the action.
To get rejected.
Yeah.
There are, like, I have a friend who I love to death, but 9 times out of 10, she like ghosts me. She's just very flaky. And so I don't reach out to her a ton. You know, I do reach out to her occasionally because I love her. But then I have friends that I have, and she has been one of my best friends since college. And so, but now I'm in a place that I need like different, more reliable friends, and like putting myself out there and trying to make new friends and have one who she has a ton of friends. So like I can't always like hang out with her because she has so many. So I have to have like more, right? You know, it's just this balance. It's no one person is going to like be your best friend and meet all your needs. But you also have to be the one to like put yourself out there and like meet people's needs and stuff. So, and it's going to be different for everyone.
That is the thing that I would say to the girl in the previous video that we saw earlier in the episode of, you know, I'm doing all these things, but what's happening? And I don't know all the ins and outs of her situation, but it's kind of a twofold situation where yes, you're going to some of these events, activities, meetup groups, where you are likely to meet other people who are similar to you, but it's also taking the next step of finding a way to get their number or if their Instagram handle, if that feels like a little bit less scary, and making the plans.
No, girl, get their number.
Them to hang out and do the coffee date, the tea date, of a free concert that's happening, whatever it is, you kind of have to take that next step of initiation. It's sometimes not just about showing up.
Yeah.
It's about following through.
I'm going to say get the number because if you get the social media handle, you can create a false parasocial relationship with that person before you truly get to know them. And you can get distracted by other people on social media trying to get to your DMs. I've done that before. Take the phone number, be awkward. Just
be that
uncool.
awkward.
We're all trying to be cool, right? So that we're likable. Stop trying to be cool. Nobody wants to be cool anymore. We just want to be friends.
Do you know what's also a little awkward and slightly cringe, but we take the risk every single week?
Because we're done trying to be cool and this is just our authentic selves.
The Bill of the Week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the Bill of the Week.
Hi, Jen and Jill. My name is Hannah, and I'm just calling in a Bill of the Week for daycare expenses. So we live in Colorado, and in Colorado there's a universal preschool program that is for your child the year before they enter kindergarten. You can get some free hours. And so I applied for this for my son, who is 5 years old. He'll be going to kindergarten next year. And I received free daycare for his half-day status during the week. But I recently started a new job, and we needed to have full-time 5-day-a-week daycare. And we were not looking forward to the billing. It was actually pretty affordable, this daycare, probably about with the hours that we were getting, probably about $175 a week that we would be paying for his expenses, is what we were predicting. So still expensive, but less than a lot of places. So anyway, I was looking at the bills that I was getting for the daycare, and they were only like $77 a week. And so I reached out to the director. And she said, no, that's correct. You qualified for enough hours that it covers the rest of your tuition expenses. And yeah, you only have to pay $77 a week for daycare. So we were thrilled and just wanted to share this really cool thing that happened to us. And just love the show and love you guys. And I've learned so much from the podcast. So thanks again for all you do.
Yes. Oh my gosh, $77 a week for daycare. What?
Yeah, even I know that's a deal.
So good. Oh
I
my
mean, this
gosh.
is just a cool thing that you're sharing.
Way to
and
go.
We're
Hannah.
celebrating with you, Hannah. And if anybody else has this type of situation happening in your state, I mean, be sure to apply. What could it hurt?
Always apply for anything free or reduced.
Always apply. They can tell you no.
They can. I put Kai in golf for like a little babies playing golf. And it was $80. And I was like, oh, I'll apply for a discount. And I was like, hey, this is our situation. And they're like, yeah, you can pay $60 instead.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
No proof of income, nothing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you all are listening, have a bill that you want to share, if it's about a reduced bill, a bill you love to pay, you are Bill and you love that, frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill. Leave it for us. And now it's time for the lightning round.
Okay. How are you connecting with people offline, or like maybe like making new relationships offline?
For me, it's definitely trying new things. So I also go to trivia and book club, And at our office, if there's opportunities for, they call them like lunch and learns, just kind of generally looking for opportunities to meet other people. Even at our new apartment complex, there are events that happen. And so trying to get to as many of those. But I also want to say here, I'm taking this question as an inroad. There was a point, this was maybe about 5 years ago. I wasn't thrilled with where my friendships were, or like how they felt, even the relationships that I did have. It kind of felt like things are kind of lagging behind. They didn't feel as easy as they did in college. And I had said to Eric even, like, I think I just want to be a better friend. Like, it's not as if I have zero friends, but my relationships don't feel as connected as they used to. And so just starting to put action for myself towards being a better friend to the people that I did already have around me. It could have been longer than 5 years ago, honestly, but something like that. This was years ago, and I do feel like I have been able to, like, reap those rewards. Not that all of this is necessarily replicable, but I think it does relate to what we're talking about here, because I think sometimes we look at this feeling of loneliness and just think, well, other people just have it easier, or it's me, this is just the reality, when really there is a cultivation that needs to happen with relationships. And relationships aren't just, they're not stagnant, or they're not, they don't just stay the same way. Like, relationships can end, relationships can start, relationships can grow, they can fade. Like this, they are a living organism that
100%.
needs to be fed. And so for me, it was little things, but it certainly was an initiation. So remembering to text people. And sometimes that's an actual reminder in your phone. I think
Amen.
we think other people they're just so good at it. No, it's like, I have a friend who's like, how did you remember that this is the anniversary of da-da-da? It's like, because it's in my calendar. Because I just put it in my calendar and I look at my calendar and I will text you on that day just to be like thinking of you. I know this happened. I know it's the anniversary of such and such. I know that today's your birthday. Happy birthday. Like, whatever it is, that's such a minor thing, but it's something I've done. And then they text back and then it's, oh, we haven't caught up. Let's go. Da, da, da. Like that, it cycles. And if we feed it, it'll keep growing.
Yes.
So do the small thing, even if you just take that little thing of just, I know you tested out texting a gift to somebody. Sorry if I'm taking what you were about to be saying.
I know. I wasn't going to.
Running through your friend groups and just connecting, whether it's a text message. I also love to have Zoom hangs with people. So even if we can't get together, hey, can we schedule a Zoom call? I know that feels very COVID days, but having an hour-long Zoom call with a friend can really connect us in some great ways that hopefully then feed into getting together in person, certainly.
Yeah.
But figure out what the small thing is for you, do the initiation of it, and watch that thing grow.
Yes, I texted GIFs, GIFs, or memes to my friends, and you can schedule on an iPhone a text up to 2 weeks in advance. So if I was like, oh, I think this friend is like out of town, or I don't want to text like 20 people at the same time, right?
It's
So like,
gonna be too much to keep up with on the back end.
So I'm like scheduling these texts to go out at like 7 or 8 p.m., like one a day for the next 2 weeks, like just because I'm thinking about it and I don't want to forget it. And so then every day, like somebody is texting me back.
Yes.
Right. And we're like catching up. So, and I think the remembering small things is so valid. I had the 10th anniversary of my bachelorette party a few weeks ago, and I texted everyone a picture of themselves at the bachelorette party.
Nice.
And I was like, can you believe this 10 years ago? And yeah, just like small things. If you are going through your phone, like, and you see a picture of you and your friend, just like texting it to them and be like, miss you, you are the best. Um,
And then being
yeah.
a person to plan the in-person stuff. That, hey, this is going on. You want to join me. And that takes effort, but we're gonna find ourselves lonely if we don't put in the effort.
Yeah. So the way I am connecting with people is a little different. Since we have 2 kids, it's hard to like go out to like the things that you do. But um, we have found that um, wherever we're going to church is really where we try to invest in relationships. And so that makes finding a church very difficult because it has to it has to meet the vibe check, honestly. And we looked, and I'm lucky that Travis feels like the same way about relationships that I do. He's he's an even better friend than I am. Like, I take inspiration from him, and it's how we met. Honestly, I was inspired by Travis. This was still early in our marriage, like how good of a friend he is to people and how inviting he is to new people. And so when I saw Eric post that thing on Facebook, I was like, I want to be more like Travis. And so, inviting you guys in. But we found a church last year that finally, after trying so many, felt like the right fit for us, that valued community over like everything. And different places of like religious worship value different things, even in the same denomination. Um, and so like we just worked for several years, honestly, to find the place that fit. And now those are some of like my new closest friends. They are the right fit in this season. And there's always like, so much care for our kids too. Like, they're very mindful of having childcare for events, or like all the parents. Now we have friends with teenage kids, and they can watch, some of our kids, so the other parents can like get together. So it's been so worth the trouble that it was of finding this place. But that is really, I would say, the text messages don't feel like offline to me. Those, I will say, are still, I would still consider them offline, but like truly offline is definitely that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you all so much for being here. Thanks for listening, for watching, and for reading our book, Buy What You Love Without Going Broke, and leaving a review like this one from Megan, 5 stars. The authors, Jen and Jill, have taken the meat and potatoes from their years of podcasting and put it into the perfect mix of anecdotes, tips, and thought-provoking questions, actionable steps. As a fan of the podcast for years, I was pleased to see the nods to the fans. I've always said these two are the friends we all need, reaffirming that little voice you hear when you are spending money. Does this fit with my values and goals? The book helps to shift you into a values-based mindset. Forever a fan of the Frugal Friends for the tools and motivation I needed to pay off my own debt, and excited for more people to take charge of their spending in this way.
Yes.
Yes, Megan.
Thank you, Megan. And we're so happy to be your friends. I think it's super valuable to have some parasocial relationships. They can be an escape, as long as they don't become a substitute. And I think it's very cool. Like, all of our parasocial friends are truly like, they pass the vibe check.
Oh, I love them. They're
Yeah.
making me laugh on the daily.
Yes.
And
So
it's where we
love
get a
you
lot of our
guys.
tips from. Like, we do need this version. So yeah, if you're enjoying this version, please do subscribe, like, leave a rating and review. Listen to our book, read our book, leave a review. Just all of the free things that you can do to support us. We would be so thrilled. And if you want another one to queue up after this, TikTok is ruining hobbies. That's a hot take.
Yeah, that's a recent episode that has been going off.